You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you triathlon studs and studettes, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon, the podcast where we go long on endurance and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. This is going to be another great episode because we have an interview. We were about to embark on a 322-mile gravel bike ride, bike packing, 3 days, leaving from our house and going east in a giant clockwise circle through two national forests around one of Texas's biggest lakes, Lake Livingston, and back home again. An interesting thing, by coincidence, 320 miles over 3 days is what you do for an Ultraman. Now, unlike an Ultraman, which is a triathlon, this thing is going to be all biking, but a lot of it is going to be off-road on logging trails, backcountry roads through national forests. So the effort level you're going to have to put out is somewhat similar. And we're talking over 100 miles a day on your bike for 3 days straight and having to navigate unknown territory. We needed some help. Now, through Instagram, I had made friends with Lisa Charlebois, and we'll get that name correction straightened out. That name pronunciation straightened out in the podcast if I got that right again, or during the interview. But she is at Hustle and a Half on Instagram, and she is the real deal. She has done Paris-Brest Paris, which is a massive randonneuring bike race. I don't know if it's really a race anymore. It's a bike event. It's the oldest epic bike ride in the world. And you have to qualify. And I think is it like 500 and something miles? Let's look it up. Oh my gosh, it's even bigger. 745 miles. And it's nonstop. A lot of people sleeping on the side of the road. I mean, this thing is intense. So this is our interview for today. We recorded it before Kai and I left on our trip. For two reasons. One, she's got some awesome stories. And two, for the advice that she has for us on what we should do for ours. Oh, and I should mention, on a triathlon Ironman podcast, why are we talking about doing a 300 and something mile bike ride day after day? Well, the best way to get really good at biking 112 miles is to bike 300 and something miles. That 112 miles on a triathlon bike feels like nothing. When you put yourself in the saddle for 120 miles, and then 120 miles, and then 80 miles, day after day after day, you develop that slow twitch, fat burning, and that grit that you need to psychologically harden yourself up, toughen yourself up for doing an Ironman. The human mind is a comparing mind. We learned that in Zen. And it's when you do something that you've never done before that you get a little scared and you hold back. But if you've done something before and you've survived it, you have something to compare it to. And as long as it's not as bad as the worst you've ever been through, you know you're fine. The way I got much better at running and was finally able to run the full marathon at the end of an Ironman was to actually get into trail running and start running 50 milers, standalone 50 milers, and even 100 miler on trails. And then compared to that, the marathon at the end of an Ironman is nothing to worry about. And even the double marathon on the third day of an Ultraman is nothing to worry about because that's 52 miles on pavement with an aid station, every mile or however often you want. And if you've done a trail run where it's an aid station every 3 or 4 miles for 50 something miles or 100 miles and survive that, you know that you're going to be fine. So it's called over distance. You go bigger than the distance in your single sport. And then when you have to do that distance mixed in with like multi-sport, triathlon, or just on its own, it's no big deal. You've got something to compare it to. So this is really great. Multi-day bike packing is a great way to build up confidence on the bike, to be able to go really, really far and then run off of it. Okay. Now, since this was going to be our first quote unquote bike packing, we were going to do it as easily as possible as far as the overnight staying because we have temperatures forecasted to be in the 30s to the 40s Fahrenheit, which is just barely above freezing. And I came up with the route just days before we left on it. So we weren't able to do any research on it besides the area right close to our house. So like maybe the first and last 30 miles we were familiar with. And the rest of it was into the great unknown. So if you go back and look at my Instagram, you can see on at ZenTriathlon the routes that we took each day. And so we left from College Station. Our plan was to leave from College Station and go northeast to Crockett, Texas, which is named after Davy Crockett. And that is the edge of the Davy Crockett National Forest. And the Davy Crockett National Forest is really raw, very undeveloped. And not just those roads, but the roads leading there, as soon as you get out of a city in Texas, it is rural and it can get really gravelly and rough out there. And the other problem in Texas is this is not one of the western states that is all like BLM open land and all that. It's almost all private land except in state parks and the national forest. So even though Google Maps says it's a road, we found out many times that it was not a road, it was private land. And you don't just go on somebody's private land in Texas. Because it's not just them that are out there with guns. It's the hunters that are out there, and it's deer season right now. And it's always hog season. So if you're trespassing, it's not going to be long before somebody spots you and starts asking questions. So we have to be really careful. And we did encounter some hunters while we were contemplating about going down a private road that was gated off. But it would have been really hard to lift our bikes up over it since they were loaded down with so much gear. And we were just kind of standing there scratching our heads. And I'm actually really comfortable dealing with quote unquote country folk. I've been doing it as part of my job since the 90s. And you just be nice and tell them what you're doing. And the trick with this stuff is you tell them that Google Maps took you there and ask them for help. Is there a way that they can help you get around the obstacle? And the next thing you know, everybody, when they're not in the comment section on the internet, is actually really nice and wants to help each other out. And the next thing we know, we got all kinds of help and instruction from hunters on like, maybe you could take this route, maybe you could take this route, but don't take that route. That route's bad. It's got too many cars on it. And wow, you guys are doing something really cool. How far have you come today? And y'all are father, son. Oh, this is my grandson and my son. And you know, we're 3 generations out here in the woods. And it's just like, oh, it's so cool. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil the ending a little bit and say the trip went really, really well. And I think what I'll do is cover the gravel trip over 2 different shows and then also mix in the marathon mountain bike race that Kai and I did in Fredericksburg, Texas, going the other direction, about the same distance. And that was a 42-mile mountain bike race, which is called, a marathon mountain bike race out in the German hill country. Like if you go an hour and a half, 2 hours west of Austin. And we're not going to have too much swimming on this episode. The pool was closed over Christmas break for me. But we do have some running just a few days after finishing what I called the PineBurden320. I'll tell you about that in a minute. We went and did a trail run race. Emily and I did. And she did the 5K and I did. It just escalates from 5K to 15K. There is no 10K and then there's a 30K. But my legs pretty sore from doing that epic bike ride. And so I did the 15K and got about middle placement. It's a really technical trail. And I talk about that. I'll probably save that for the second episode of all this. But it was so technical that averaging an 11-minute mile was actually pretty good, especially after going out partying the night before because it was New Year's Eve and getting up early and actually going for a trail run race. And one thing that's always a success about trail running is if you didn't fall down and you didn't twist an ankle or twist a knee, you get hurt. And don't get in over your head. And I successfully pulled it off. No problems. I've already recorded the race review of that. We'll have that, on episode 2 of this. But let me back up a little bit to the Pine Burden. Okay, there's been a saying in East Texas for a long, long time about the pine curtain, like the Iron Curtain of the former Soviet Union. And in East Texas, which is quite large, it's as big as many states. It could possibly be as big as Mississippi. I'd have to look at a map. There's this eastern chunk of Texas that is all heavy, thick pine forest. And Houston's on the edge of it. But besides that, there's no major cities like Houston, Dallas, or Austin in there. It's all medium to small size cities and very rural and a little bit mysterious and even spooky if you're not from the area and it's, kind of different to you. And looking at a map, East Texas with the pine forest is about 2/3 to 3/4 at least the size of Mississippi. I mean, it is big, but a lot of weird stuff happens back there. And a book came out in the Oh, actually, it didn't come out that long ago. The book is named after the saying. The saying is really old. The saying comes back, I don't know how long ago, but behind the pine curtain. So I would tell people at my work a long time ago that I'm going to like Tyler, Texas, and east of there. And they'd say, oh, you're going behind the pine curtain. It's like, what? I had to learn this myself. They're like, yeah, strange people back there. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's beautiful. I grew up as a kid a lot in East Tennessee and in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, northern Alabama, and it's like that. It's beautiful pine forest. So I love it. I love the pine forest. But the saying behind the pine curtain still stands. And there was even a book written, looks like here in 2006, like a romance novel with like mystery and stuff like that, behind the pine curtain. So it is a saying. It's been way too long trying to explain that. It is a saying. And so I was looking for a play on words and also just to brand and name this ride we were going to do. So I called it the PineBurden, like carrying a heavy load. So it's the PineBurden320. And I make maps and do navigation and map infrastructure and such for a day job, both urban and rural. So I'm not too bad at creating routes. And you know how you enjoy doing things that you're good at. So I sat down and plotted out a route and using my experience from longer events, made it so the last day was the easiest day. Have lots of experience with thinking that just because a road is mapped on Google Maps, learning that it's not actually a road because they map it from satellite and using AI and have been forever. AI is not new. And from space, they can't tell that there's a gate across the road or such. And once roads get gravel or dirt, they tend not to do the street view thing quite as much. It kind of varies county by county. So you can't use street view to see if a road goes through all the time because the car just turned around. They're like, I'm scared. I'm going to turn around, go the other way. You see enough strange guys that pick up trucks with guns, maybe you're just going to turn them back around, Like I guess it depends on who's driving. And being that we had gravel bikes and we wanted to make it as adventurous as possible, but only so adventurous because this was our first time. The cool thing is you can reduce traffic by going down backcountry roads. And because you're on a gravel bike, it does not matter that it's backcountry roads and what the surface turns into. As long as you can get through, you can probably ride down it. And so you're playing this razor's edge game of making a route that is as backwoods as possible, but still hoping that the roads are still open and not gated off. So what we did on day one is I made the route go to Crockett, Texas, which ended up being like 110 miles on the map. And for that night, booked a cheap hotel on the south side of town. We were coming in from the southwest, so we're going to leave from the southeast, and there's a little loop around the town. And I booked a hotel there. And in the interview with Lisa, she tells us about how to go eat dinner and stuff like that and get going again in the morning. And then the next day, we go through the western side of the Davy Crockett National Forest on what turned out to be crazy logging roads around Lake Livingston, and then a massive climb up that I was not expecting until we did it through Point Blank, Texas. And there's a cool story behind that name that's not what you think. I'll get to that later in the show. And did we go through Cut and Shoot, Texas? I don't think so. But Cold Spring, Texas. And through an area where there's been known mountain lion sightings, and then ended up in Huntsville, Texas. And that one, Kai's girlfriend lives with some other girls that were all home for vacation, Christmas break. So it's just Kai's girlfriend, and we had access to her house. She goes to Sam Houston in Huntsville, Texas, Sam Houston University. And we're going to stay at her place overnight. So we were going to couch surf it. And then the last day, have the shortest day, but go through the rest of the Sam Houston National Forest and then end up in College Station back out on the prairie. So as I'm making this map and I'm running into road after road where I'm like, man, I do not know if this goes through. And I know from my experience in these national forests, and I have a degree in forestry as well. I have a master's in forestry. The national forests are actually used for logging. And what's a road now is not a road, again, for a long, long time, if ever. There's abandoned roads, but what's on the map, was mappable when they made it, the map, but it's been years, and that thing could no longer exist. It could have gates across it. We found out there's logs across it, bridges blown out. And then also logging roads are just barely drivable in four-wheel drive. They have main logging roads, which you've probably been down on in a car. You can drive a minivan down some of that stuff. But once you get off the very main logging roads going through a national forest and the side roads that actually take you where you want to go, they could be goat trails if they're passable at all. So I mentioned to Kai a few days before we left, said, hey, just floating this idea out there. Maybe do we want to drive out there and see if the more questionable roads are actually usable, that they actually punched all the way through from one end to the other? And then Kai said, no, we really don't have time. It'd take a lot of gas and time, and he didn't want to bother with it. And I just chalked it up to, you know what, we're just going to have an adventure. We'll figure it out. So on one hand, we did figure it out and it was fine. But on the other hand, oh my gosh, it could have gone bad. If it had been raining or if we had some sort of mechanical disaster and the road had turned to like muck and sand, like some of the roads still were from a rainstorm about a week before, it would have been horrible. So we got really lucky. But that's part of the planning. So again, we came up with this idea to go do this. Kai's always wanted to do a bike packing trip. Lachlan Morton just put out a video of him bike packing the not the Colorado Trail, the Continental Divide, which is really, really, really long. It's from Canada to Mexico, off-road gravel. And you do a mix of camping in a tent or staying in hotels or staying in little houses and shelters. Just kind of varies. Grabbing food from stores. And so we're looking for that same kind of experience. Really motivational, really cool guy. And so Kai was off from college for Christmas break. My work had given us a week and a day off. So 8 days off the week of Christmas. Christmas was on a Monday, so we had all these other days after that, and we had this weather window where it was going to be no rain, somewhat sunny, cold as hell, but it wouldn't have rained for a couple of days before we left, and no rain in the forecast for the next few days. So theoretically, it could be okay. So I sat down, like I said, and planned out this route. And besides the roads being questionable about whether you could connect through them or not, the other thing that came to mind was this is a lot of time in national forest and a lot of time on back roads, if they're even roads, where there's nobody around. And if you have a mechanical bike issue or the road turns to sand or mud and you end up having to walk or carry gear on your back or pushing a bike, or you get lost in the national forest and you end up spending the night in the freezing weather, we are not in civilization anymore. This is now, we need to be ready for a little bit of wilderness survival in case we have a problem. So I found this half exciting and half problematic because most likely everything will be fine, but you just don't know. But also, Kai and I are both Eagle Scouts, and Kai has done 2 high adventure backpacking trips in northern New Mexico in the Rockies, 10 days at a time, where we do 3 days at a time with no food resupply, which would be similar to this. We packed all of our fuel for 3 days. And you have to be like totally self-sustaining for days at a time at high altitude and cover, I think his trips were like 60 to 80 miles. And I went on both of his, so I've done that as well with him. And then when I was a teenager, I did a almost 100-mile trip, I think, in the same area in 10 days. And then also I've done parts of the Ozark Highlands Trail twice, the Lone Star Trail, and also have like wilderness survival merit badge and taught wilderness survival to people. And the big joke with Emily is she and her friends say that they should get me on a wilderness survival show. Because whenever I see one on TV, I'm like, they're doing that wrong. I'm definitely like, a lot of times I'm like, wow, that's impressive. I could never think of that, when they have the really badass people on them. But I know my stuff about wilderness survival. And the very first thing you know is the wilderness is more powerful than you, and you better be freaking prepared. It's kind of like swimming in a current. You're not in control anymore. So you just better bring some extra stuff to minimize the death by 1,000 cuts out there in the wilderness. And I'm not being facetious. You could be deep in the woods like we were and have a flat like I did, or break a spoke like I did, or get stuck in heavy mud, which we managed to get around, but there was lots of it on some of the other roads that we didn't go down, or stuck in the heavy sand, which has happened to us there in the summer. And the next thing you know, instead of doing 14, 15 miles per hour, you're doing 1 mile per hour, and then you're spending the night in the woods with the bears in the mountain lion. So on one hand, I'm like, oh, this is dangerous, exciting. Kai and I should be able to handle it if we bring the right stuff. But also, the scenery is going to be awesome. So I ended up carrying about 10 pounds of extra gear that you normally wouldn't take on a bike packing trip, unless it was like through heavy woods that you could get stuck in overnight. So a Leatherman, parachute cord, which is a lightweight type of rope, spare spokes, 2 lighters, a mercy blanket, first aid kit. I packed extra layers of clothes. Kai went with the same kit the entire time. And come to think of it, I'd forgotten about this. Just a few years ago, we took Kai's Boy Scout troop, the older boys, out to the Sam Houston National Forest, hiked 7 miles in during January so that it was below freezing overnight, had them leave all the tents at the cars. So they had to build emergency wilderness survival shelters out of whatever they found on the trail. And this is on the Lone Star Trail. You can sleep anywhere on the trail. It's like the Appalachian Trail. Same idea. And at most, you got a little bit of a tarp. And we did it, and it was fun. And my shelter that I made is I cut down palmetto leaves and then made like a frame that was felt like a coffin when I was in it, and then had them laying against each other to make like a Toblerone chocolate triangular coffin that I was in, and then just piled up pine needles all over it, dried pine needles all over it. And that actually created like incredible insulation. And then I was warm overnight. So if Kai and I got stuck in the forest overnight, we definitely would have built one of those for both of us to sleep in to keep each other warm, and then taken all of our Gatorade and whatever food that we had on us, Oreos, and which is on a video on Instagram, and hung that from a tree up high. There's technically bears to be in the area. They're really not much to worry about, but it'd be fun just to practice it. Throw the food up in a bear bag, and then survive the night, and then set something on fire, and then we'd be all right. We did ride through a whole bunch of controlled burn areas where the rangers purposely set the forest on fire in the wintertime because the fire, it's cold and damp enough, the fire's not going to spread out of control. And it makes like this cool, spooky scenery. So that was cool to ride through. So yeah, that's what we had ahead of us. And I couldn't be more happy to have Lisa, AKA Hustle and a Half on Instagram, call us on Zoom and give us this awesome interview just a day or two before we were going to leave with tips and tricks. And I got to say, it really put my mind at ease. And after talking with her, I felt like we could totally do this. So that's plenty of an intro. Let's go ahead and get Lisa on and hear a little bit about her and also her advice to us as we're about to embark on the PineBurden320. Here we go. Because the very first thing I wanted to say is I approve of your room decoration there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we got lots of bikes. And then the scary part is that there's more bikes behind that door. There you go. See? Nicely done. Oh, and the dog too. Oh, wow.
There's a bike next to that column somewhere. There's peeking.
Perfect. Yeah. No.
Bike.
I mean, there has to be at least a bike per person in every,
There's another bike over there and then another one around the corner over there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Right.
Yeah. So just to get things out of the way, how do you say your last name? Charlebois? Charlebois?
Oh, Charlebois. Charlebois. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good thing Timothy Charlemagne's so famous right now because that helps.
Oh, the funny part is that if you were in Montreal, Charlebois is like Smith. It's like the most common name ever. And then you come to the US and it's like, ooh.
Oh, fancy. All right. I'm very excited to have with us on the show today, Lisa Charlebois. How's it going, Lisa?
Hi, good. I'm great. Thanks.
And I have the biggest compliment to pay Lisa. And the way I found out about Lisa was I was following her already on Instagram. And because Lisa seemed like a legit badass long distance cyclist that's like backpacking, randoneering, which is more road based, I guess. And then, although you do have a really funny phrase I saw the other day where you said on 28 millimeter tires, every bike is a gravel bike.
That's right.
So then, and so I was following you because you have a really cool Instagram, I guess, channel or whatever we would call it, presence. And you really seemed to like know what you were talking about, but also we're having a lot of fun, but it wasn't like any kind of BS. It wasn't like overly artificial or something. Like you were like showing like real tips and like real stuff And the way you were dressed and the way you were actually doing it didn't seem to be just hype, right? It was like real. And I was like, cool, I'm going to get some tips and information from Lisa. It's Hustle and a Half is the Instagram channel, right?
Yes, that's me.
Am I calling it the right
Exactly.
thing, Kai? Is it called a channel?
Yes, that is
Okay,
right.
we have our resident our Utes social media expert here with us, Kai Blankner, and he's gonna make sure we're on the correct terminology.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Stuff is fire and lit, and I'm already making you cringe.
A little bit.
Yeah. And
I
then
could see his face. Like
he's like, "Oh, stop that."
Yeah.
And then so anyway, just recently I noticed you were doing a bike. I don't know, bike packing. Bike packing would be more like off-road, I guess, but you were doing more like randoneering, I guess. And you're going to explain all that to us, the difference and stuff, if there is much. And then you were going into a headwind like crazy in the rain. Even though it was beautiful, it looked like it kind of sucked at the moment, and you were laughing. And so in your comments, I posted the link to one of my latest Instagrams, where I was riding by myself into this horrible headwind, and it was not a scenic place. And I was being sarcastic about how, wow, this is so great. I'm so glad I'm best use of my time doing this. It was funny. And then I had no expectations that you would click. I mean, who clicks on a link in their comments? That could be dangerous, right? You could go to like spam
Instagram
or something
jail.
horrible.
Yeah.
But then I got a direct message back saying, ha ha ha, that was really funny. And also that you followed my show, right? And so, and that you really thought it was great that I messaged you. And so what I think is so cool is that you and I both like followed each other, not knowing that we were following each other, because we were doing so much. So this is like really cool.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
each other so much.
Dude, I'm so flattered. The things you just said and all of that is just so, I don't know, warms my heart. Because you're a creator and you make stuff and you're like, I don't know, does anyone care? Like, it's just me in the rain for 12 hours, like whatever. But I'm also, just on a personal note, I feel like I've felt Kai grow up. I mean, from like on the pod, it's been like Kai's story as well. So this is really cool to meet you and to see you and to see all your accomplishments as well. It's amazing.
So you're based out of San Francisco right now, or where are you out of?
Yeah, so I'm a Canadian. So I grew up in Canada, but now I'm in the US and I'm up here in San Francisco. And I've been riding bikes since Toronto, and I lived in New York, LA, and now San Francisco.
Oh, you live in New York too. Okay, cool.
That was a very brief biking career in New York City.
Did you try to be a bike messenger or anything crazy?
Oh, God, no, absolutely not. It was, oh gosh, hats off to anybody that can bike in New York. I mean, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah. Let's see. When I was a young guy, Quicksilver with Kevin Bacon was a famous movie, a bike messenger movie. The original Bike Messenger movie, which was crazy.
Yeah.
So let's see. You were biking from your last one. Was it from Monterey back to San Francisco, or was it further away back to San Francisco?
Oh, yeah. We started in San Francisco. We went down. So originally the route was actually going to be more like 400 and some miles. And then a buddy of ours bailed. So then we were like, fine, we'll just do the 3-day route, which is like 300 and some. And then he just totally bailed. So then it was just me and my husband. And we're like, well, I kind of want to do this anyway. So started in Monterey, started in San Francisco, went down to Monterey day one. That was like 127 miles. I can't remember the elevation. And then day two, we just went down the Big Sur. So which was, I've never done that before. And holy cow, it's spectacular, like truly epic. That day was pretty awesome in the sense that the weather was complete garbage. And so at one point we like went into a ditch and like waited for this storm to pass for like 45 minutes because it was just total chaos. And then day 3, we just ended up coming back from Monterey and going to San Jose. So it wasn't as like gnarly as the original route, but it was a nice one. I mean, for this early in the season, this was enough mileage for us.
Okay. And then also a little bit of background on you. When you and I were talking through Instagram messaging a while ago, you said you are a legit triathlete. You actually did a triathlon or 2 or 1, or you trained for one, and then found that you fell in love with cycling more than anything else, right?
Oh, I'm not a runner. I mean, it was just
you're not a runner.
pathetic attempt at running. So yeah, no, I did 1 half Ironman, and when I turned 40, that was like I'm gonna go do something big, and I trained for it, and I did the Atlantic City half Ironman, which was awesome. I mean, I crushed the swim, the bike was great, and then the run was a complete disaster. It was like 12-minute miles or something. It was like just game over. So that was the end of my triathlon career.
All right. Did you get into like doing endurance stuff? Was ZenTri like part of your path of getting into like long distance stuff? Like give you tips or?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I listened to your podcast throughout all my training on that triathlon, and I did like shorter ones before that. Yeah. And then I think it was just kind of one of those things where you're like, well, what do I do next? And like, what's my thing? And it was a friend of mine that started talking about Paris-Brest Paris, which is like,
we're going to talk about that. That is awesome.
It's like the Burning Man of bikes in a way. It's like this super epic 1,200 kilometer ride. And that's where I kind of started thinking about the endurance stuff, really.
How far is 1,200 kilometers? Is it 800 miles or something?
750 miles. So PBP is every 4 years. And it started in 1891, I think. And it was
older than the Tour de France, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was actually competitive back in the day. So these guys, which is insane to think you do like a 750-mile race, like on bikes from the 1800s. I can't even. Anyway, so now it's an amateur event, but you have to qualify. There's a lot of rules and sort of regulations around it, and it's in the sport you could call, which is randonneuring, which is a form of cycling, which, as you can imagine, is just endurance cycling. Right. And PBP is like the Olympics of endurance cycling, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's only every 4 years. That really surprised me when I heard about that. There was an interview with somebody, I don't remember who it was, like a few months ago I was listening to, that did it. And they did a really in-depth interview, like every day, what it was like. And really, I mean, it's really cool. And it surprised me that it's only every 4 years. I guess it's so big, they can only pull it off every 4 years or something.
Yeah. And I think psychologically, like, you need a minute. Like, first off, you have to qualify. So in order to qualify, that's a 2-year process. So you start 2 years before, and they take your longest randonneur ride. So you have to do these with, in the US, it's the Randonneurs of America. And then you have a randonneur chapter. So the San Francisco Randonneurs. And you have to do their rides. You can't just go out and do a 600 kilometer ride. They're just like, no. You got to do our route. And there's checkpoints you got to hit and all that stuff. So that's 2 years before. And then the year leading into it, then you have to do a 200, 300, 400, and 600 kilometer brevet. And all of that has to happen before June of the PBP event. And then you get your like, hey, you've done it. Congratulations. And then you get the ticket and you get to go to France. So
but one thing I encourage people to do is, like, if they want to do like Ironman and stuff like that, is to get better at something, you go overboard on the training on that one thing. And so randonneuring, if you want to become a better cyclist, you need 112 miles needs to seem easy. You know what I mean? So that you're not in over your head, And then cool is, with the randonneuring and the brevets, are they gravel at all? Do they try to stay on pavement no matter what? Or do they not care, or is it gravel?
There's mixed terrain. So my first brevet was a 300 kilometer gravel brevet. The trick though is that they don't give you more time. So it was like, yeah, so it's a real kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because I did it on 28s actually on my Cannondale Super 6 road bike. It was kind of like one of those things where you don't know any better. So you're like, yeah, this will be fine. And I think it was about 16,000 feet of climbing in 100 and whatever it is, 72 miles or yeah, it was bonkers. So yeah, and you only get I think for a 300 they give you like not 20 hours or something. So yeah, we were coming in not right at the end, but we definitely used a lot of that time.
You got people looking at you like, wow, she's on a Cannondale road bike. She must be a pro or something.
Absolutely not.
No, actually, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh my God. My husband blew through a brake pad. Like he just was like, it was just a crazy time. Yeah.
So so one of the reasons of this phone call is we're going to look at my route that I made because Kai and I are going to do our first bike packing. Kai started wanting to do bike packing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came up, this will be our first ever. Now we've done lots of backpacking, high adventure backpacking, where you resupply like every 3 days, high elevation, bear country. You got to carry all your own food, find your own water and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, we totally know how to do this kind of thing. But the one thing that I would say that we take from that is you can't rely on anything and you have no idea what's actually going to happen. And it's actually a little bit more complicated because, backpacking, you've got a stove and you've got your your backpack and some gear, that's like mechanical stuff you got to work on. But with bike packing and randonneuring and doing brevets is you got a bicycle, which is that thing breaks, you gotta that's a whole different thing. If your backpack, splits a seam or a frame cracks a little bit, you can kind of patch that up going, but that's different than a chain breaking or like breaking spokes or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what we got questions for you about that. And then we're definitely, since this is our first, we're going to stay, we could do the course clockwise or counterclockwise. And which way we decide to do it, one day, the first night, like if we do it clockwise, the first night is we'll have a hotel. We're going to get a cheap hotel.
That's a nice
and
move.
I've heard that that's a smart, for our first one, that's a smart idea.
Yep.
And then plus it's going to be cold. And then there are state parks, we'll be in the national forest, stuff like that. But it's like, you know what, we got questions for you about like charging devices and things like that. And we don't have the gear yet to like charge stuff. Right. So that's why a hotel or staying at somebody's apartment. Kai's girlfriend lives in Huntsville, where on day 2, if we go clockwise, we could stay at her place and then charge up stuff again, for the next day, which is, if you were doing like real bike packing, you'd have to do like solar and like, I don't know, you'd have to find places to charge stuff, which I think we need to work our way up to something like that. And then, but the reason we want to do it is during the pandemic, especially, everybody started doing these FKTs, like famous people like Morton and vegan cyclists and Keegan Swenson, just like these epic. We started following more people that are doing the Colorado Trail and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, Ryan Van Duzer, who's really inspirational. And we're like, man, this is something that would be really, really cool. And and then to bump into you, where you seem to obviously have a lot of experience kind of doing this, but you haven't been doing it actually that long, right? You fell in love with it, and like that's part of your story, is like you fell in love with it like so hard. Like,
yeah, I mean, I know I've been cycling for like 20 years. I mean, but you're right, like that. Like a flip switch happened, and then it was like, I think we should do 700 miles. Yeah, that's a great idea. I've been randonneuring, I guess 2 or 3 years, something like that, because it was pretty much, my husband turned 50, and it was the same, like he turned 50 on April 19th, and PBP was April 20th or 21st. So it was like, well, if we're going to do a big birthday, this is it. And that kind of got us going. So
Hear that, Emily?
what? Yeah.
For my birthday, we're going to bike from Paris to hundreds of miles away from Paris and then back again.
Yeah.
She goes, really?
Yeah.
So then, let's see. Let's pull up the route you had. I'd love this. You actually asked for the route because you wanted to kind of go over it a little bit. What Kai and I are going to do.
Yeah. I tried to recreate it. Honestly, I was trying to plot it in Google. Like, I don't know that I did a successful job of it, but I was trying to figure out first off, I'm thrilled to hear you're staying in shelters because like there's plenty of time to get real gnarly, like with tents and all that business. But yeah.
Yeah, we've done the thing with hypothermia at 12,000 feet several times, you know, and
it's cool.
that's not a first time experience thing to do.
Yeah.
It's when you're really hardcore and you've got so much experience, you know exactly how to handle it.
Because have you done any, like when it comes to endurance cycling, have you gone 300 miles before? Even on the road, like just period.
I haven't. I don't know if you have.
I've done an Ultraman, which is a stage race, you know, and then when we did the Cactus Cup, I mean, the equivalent is kind of like that. It's off road, but it's a 3-day stage race, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
So day 1 is only a time trial, but day 2 is 44 miles mountain biking in the desert, like a lot of elevation. And then day 3 is enduro. So, you know, like, so we've done 3-day events and, but not quite like this, but backpacking in the Rockies. And, I've done the Ozarks and a little bit of the Appalachian Trail is, you know, I know things like you got to really, really hold back and pace yourself at first and then kind of see how things unfold. Kind of like your trip you were talking about, you know, you got to be able to change on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the other reason why you guys are smart, because just that much volume in your body, you know what I mean? You don't need to add more complication of like, and now I'm going to sleep on the floor. Like, you know, embrace a bed and some heat and a shower. I mean, these things are going to feel amazing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We've done, again, you know, 10 days at a time or something like that. I've done 100-mile backpacking trips and where you resupply like every 3 days and high elevation and, you're going to dry camp at 10,000 feet and you got to pick up your water at 5,000 feet. So you got to carry 4 liters of water per person up a 12,000 foot climb and then figure out how to stay warm at night. And then there's a wildfire on the horizon. You know? Just never really stops.
I'm never doing that. That sounds.
Yeah. And then when I was a kid, I was doing that, and we got chased by a bear as we dropped the bear bag down. Like he was waiting for us to drop.
Oh my gosh!
It's really comical, actually, when you think about it.
Oh boy!
So this course, one thing I thought that Kai and I should come up with is a name for it. And you know, in East Texas, it's called the Pine Curtain. We're always up to change this.
Okay.
Because East Texas is heavily pine forest. A lot of people don't know that. They think all of Texas is all desert, and it's not. The eastern third of Texas is thick pine forest. And they call it the Pine Curtain, like the Iron Curtain of East Germany and Russia. And once you're back in there, man, who knows what happens back in those woods. And so, so we're going to go from the prairie through the pine to the back of the Pine Curtain and then back again. And so we're going to call it and it's about 320 miles. And so we're going to call it the PineBurden 320.
I like it.
So that way we got some branding, you know, and we can get some following on the PineBurden. Kai and Brett try to do the PineBurden 320.
Oh yeah. No, it's got to have a little bit of pain in there. It's got to feel like, you know, you're soldiering through. Hey, I think it's cool. I mean, so where do you want to start as far as how I can help you?
Well, do you want to talk about gear and stuff first, or you want to talk about the course first?
I mean, I think maybe if we talk about gear, it will apply to the course.
So my gear questions are, we can start off with, do we need a first aid kit?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Always. Yes. Next question. No.
And what should be in it then?
So, I mean, I actually take a first aid kit on every single ride, like a coffee ride. I have a little tiny first aid kit in my saddlebag of all my bikes. Now, as far as I'm going to expand this first aid kit to your whole gear kit. Like, so if you can see here, this is the bike I rode Perry Brest on. And you see that little can thing on the down tube, that little white thing? So that's a third bottle cage, which I personally really like because then I use that as my little canister for tools, first aid kit, all the sort of garage that is your bike.
Yeah.
In that, I have things like a spare derailleur hanger. Like if your derailleur hanger, if you crash, like, I mean, God forbid, but if it happens and you break a derailleur hanger, you're done. There's no zip tying that thing together. So it's totally worth getting a spare derailleur hanger. That way it's just one giant thing you don't have to stress about.
Right.
On top of that, zip ties are super helpful. As well as all the normal things, tire irons, like
About spokes.
I mean, the chance of you breaking a spoke, again, I'm sure the internet will explode on me, but like that's not that intense. Like I don't think, and plus you can ride with a broken spoke. Like you just pull it out and you'll be fine. Right now, if you broke a bunch of them, like then we have a problem. But for the most part, I mean, are your wheels super old? Have they not been serviced in a million years? Like that's the other part of this is
we
like
started breaking spoke. He broke a couple spokes recently.
Yeah, but they've been replaced.
But I mean, that's kind of a sign. So did you get the spokes at your apartment? Did you grab them?
Yeah.
So he's actually got some spare spokes that'll fit his wheels. So I said, I've got a frame bag. I'm like, just carry a spoke.
Sure.
And then
do you know how to put it in? That's the other part.
He does. Kai worked at a bike shop for a couple of years.
Then great. Then go for it. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't bring it because I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I would just be kind of like useless. But the tire iron, like your tire iron, your tubes. I also like a little mini bungee cord. Like you don't realize you need some of this stuff until you need it. So like just little things like that are really simple. I always have a pump as well as CO2. Like I don't just in case. And my little hack is I like to put a bunch of electrical tape around my pump. So then you have some tape. Like it's just kind of, again, a little no-brainer thing. So in that little canister, I also have my first aid kit. In that, I have antiseptic wipes. So I buy everything that's tiny on Amazon, right? Or wherever you buy your things. So antiseptic wipes. I have antibacterial, like Neosporin in those tiny little packages, Band-Aids, maybe some butterfly closures. And I'm trying to think now. Oh, and then I make a little like med kit of Advil, Tums, Benadryl, and aspirin. So that way, I mean, God forbid someone has an allergic reaction, at least you can take a Benadryl. If someone's having a stroke, I guess you could take an aspirin. I mean, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, but as far as I can kind of understand of like things that could go really, really sideways, that's kind of why I take some of that stuff. And I've used that medical kit so many times. Like even on PvP, this dude crashed in front of me and like...
maybe it's not for you, it's for other people too. Sometimes.
Well, exactly, you know, and I patched him up and he was on his way, so.
We've got a funny story. Emily and I were doing a long bike ride that was a community ride, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot what we call those, but anyway, and then somebody crashed. This lady crashed, and the first thing I did is I went over to her bike and then told her it would be okay. And she was banged up. And
oh no!
And I was like, but her bike was beautiful. It's like a titanium bike, you know.
Oh, geez.
All right, okay, the bike's okay, you know.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Okay. We're gonna have to end this meeting in 10 minutes, and then because I've got the free.
Oh.
But
sure.
we're gonna hop right back on when that happens.
Okay.
Although we
That's
have to
cool.
wait. We have to wait like 7 minutes or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. It's just our little warning. Okay. So then one thing that I bring on, I carry all the time on my bike And also because I got into doing trail running and I learned to carry Vaseline lip therapy because they're real small. And then as soon as you get a hot spot, you can put it on a hot spot. And then I actually tend to use that all the time. I had a hot spot in my bike shorts where they were like rubbing on the outside of my hip. And it's so easy. And you just get it at any gas station. Yeah. Put it on soon. So that's one of my things for sure. I could add to that. But yeah, we're looking to getting all this stuff. Emily's a nurse. So she can tell us. She'll have to write on the packaging which do we take for what? The Advil. Yeah. I'm always confused. Tums I know.
Yeah.
When do you take Advil? When do you take ibuprofen?
Yeah. I mean, that Advil is super. I've used that because what ends up happening is on these long rides, it's all the soft tissue goes to beans on you. Your hands are going to really hurt. Your butt's going to really hurt. Things that your legs will feel great, but stuff that you can't really control is going to go.
When it hurts to touch your handlebars, you're in a.
Exactly. And that's where, Advil in France, they had this thing called Voltaren, which was like a topical Advil. Oh, yeah. If you can get that stuff's magic. It's amazing.
I heard that's a competitor to BioFreeze, Emily.
She's not in here.
She's not in here. Emily puts BioFreeze on all the time. And that menthol.
There you go.
She puts it on in the car while we're all driving together. We're like, stop. She's like, I got to put it on. But Voltaren is like BioFreeze and Voltaren, one or the other has like ibuprofen something in it. So it's like topical. And that's why people like it so much. Okay. Yeah. So then let's see. On some other questions I have for you is, I know and I wanted to, while Kai is here, I wanted to, maybe you agree with me, Lisa, to tell Kai, on day one, well, basically we're doing 110 miles every day. Okay. Something along those lines. And then, so basically you start off going as easy as you possibly can because it's going to get hard. And, but then how do you train for it? So for example, do you train looking at the elevation gain and try to do rides that have that kind of similar elevation gain or more? Or how do you train for something that's so big when you actually can't train for something like the similar mindset is with marathons? You can't train for marathons by going out and running marathons. They're too long. Yeah. So how do you train for a 300-mile plus ride? You can't run 300 miles at a time to train.
Yeah. There's a few things. I mean, I do a lot of sweet spot sessions. So during the week, I can't ride 7 hours. So I'll go for about a 2-hour sort of, it might be, 3x12 sweet spot intervals. Right. And I'll do that sort of as a couple times during the week. The weekends is volume. So the whole thing is, if you look at your week of training, getting up to about 15, 20 hours kind of leading into your event, that's just you building up the volume in your legs.
Right.
Then a couple things that are going to be really helpful is doing some test rides. So for PBP, we would do a test event of, I'm trying to remember now. It was, because PBP was also on a time limit, right? So I had 84 hours to complete 750 miles, including my sleeping and all that sort of stuff. So for us, it would be a 20-hour day on the bike, 4 hours of sleeping, another 20-hour day, 4 hours of sleeping, and another 24, 27-hour day or whatever.
That's legit. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of bananas.
Yeah.
So for you guys, so what we ended up doing is we did a 2-day practice where we did everything. We put all the stuff on the bikes. We geared up just as if we were actually going to leave and do the event. We slept for only 4 hours in a hotel, but that was it. And then we left and we did another 12 hours the second day.
Yeah.
We figured out all sorts of stuff. These were the wrong bike shorts. They felt horrible. My hands felt like this and that. So I used different gloves. So for you guys, creating a practice weekend will be super, super helpful because you'll pack up your bikes. You'll see how your bike bags fit. Are they rubbing on your legs? Is there all sorts of stuff that's annoying you, right? And then you'll also be able to do a big day. Maybe you do an 80-mile day, right? And then you sleep and then you do another 60-mile day or another 80-mile day. that'll also help you just get the confidence knowing that you're like, okay, I've done almost half or more than half of the route. And how am I feeling? How am I checking in?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and at the end of the day, you're going to go to this unknown place and you're just going to have to be like, embrace that. Right.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of stuff that's going to happen that you're not going to be prepared for, but that's kind of part of the adventure, part of the PineBurden. Yeah, exactly.
And navigation too. Like, we're trying to stay off, because we have gravel bikes, we can afford to stay off the really, we can stay off highways, we can stay off everything until we absolutely have to. And that actually adds some mileage and some scenery to it.
Yeah.
So
that'd be cool.
We're working on, and then also we've ridden about a third of the course, I'd say.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah.
And then I've done a bunch of 80-mile days back to back and stuff like that. And Kai's done some like that. I don't know if you've done like 80s back to back. So then I'm going to be Kai's Sherpa a little bit. Kai's faster than me, but he can't get ahead of me, so I'm going to slow him down. Which we'll appreciate in the end, I think. And then another thing is, because it's winter and we don't want to ride at night, we're thinking that we're going to be able to get 110 done during the daylight. Thinking that. So
speedy. How much gravel is in this 110?
Say it's 50%, but it's not the mountains, It's national forest, but it's hilly.
So it's like a flat. It's like the Gucci gravel. No, well, I guess what I'm saying is that gravel is always slower, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. Yeah. Riding at night is like kind of a whole other kettle of fish, but I would prepare. First off, I would practice a bit riding at night, because if the first time you do it is on this course, it's going to feel really unsettling. Yeah. So get your lights, practice with all that sort of stuff, because it's a different headspace. You know what I mean? And then that way, again, it's one less thing. The thing with endurance riding, at least in my books, is mental load. How can I remove the mental load of things, right? Have I never ridden at night? Let's ride at night. Let's see what that's like, right? Yeah. Have I, don't ever use any new things, right? Like don't buy new bib shorts and be like, great, now I'm going to go on a 100-mile ride. Stuff like that. It's reducing the things that you can control so that the uncontrollable things that come up, you can handle it a little bit better.
Okay. Let's get ready to, we're about to
jump off the thing. Yeah.
About to lose our time. So I'm going to go ahead and do what?
Yeah, no problem. Do I just hang up and come
I'm going to have to send you another invite, and we have to wait.
Okay.
Something like that. I need to pay for the.
There'll be a dramatic pause.
I thought I upgraded it, but apparently I haven't.
Oh, wow.
We've done, Kai and I have a pretty good time spectrum, but also we were riding a little bit harder for the, because we've done 80. What was our longest ride recently? Yeah. 80 something.
Mine was 110.
You've done 110? And then we could, and it was gravel mix.
Yeah, that was last week.
Okay.
Gravel mix. And so we could look at your time, slow it down a little bit, and then we're looking at.
Well,
and then also there's navigation. So add time too, and also stopping for lunch and stuff like that.
And also, if you have are you using a power meter, Kai?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say that's also helpful. Or you could look at average heart rate, right?
Yeah,
just try to use something so you kind of have like a gas tank. You know what I mean? Because if you're burning at for me, 200 watts, I'm like, oh God, things are going to go sideways very quickly. So, yeah. All right.
Back up and then
see you in a minute.
Okay, all right. So we left off with pacing, using heart rate. Now, Kai and I are both racers, and we do long distance racing, so we're really familiar with that. But again, just to remind Kai, do 100 miles plus day after day after day. You got to go way easier than what you think. And then when you're done, you got to eat a ton. Every night.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
along the way too, right?
Oh gosh, that's the only thing I mean, practicing your nutrition, like as you both well know with racing, but I mean, figuring out those grams per hour for you is going to be pretty critical. Like for me, when I'm doing a randonneur event, like I'm at 75 grams in my bottles. So I drink 75 an hour. And then on top of that, I'll also eat something. So I'm probably up to like 95, give or take, an hour. And so, I mean, I just heard this thing with Pogacar, and he does like 120 an hour. Like you kind of have to practice to get up to that. But definitely figure out what works for you and use your training rides as some of that sort of like fueling practice as well. Because that's the thing that will make you completely fall apart. And then, I mean, it's going to sound insane, but having McDonald's for lunch or breakfast or dinner or all three is absolute magic, because at this point you just need calories. Don't get too hung up about like, oh, but the fat and the this and the that. Your body is like this furnace, and you'll hammer a bag of Doritos like you've never eaten in your life, you know? So it's just about keeping on top of the calories and whatever settles and feels good in your system.
Fat and salt is not.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I can't go too bad with those.
Yeah. Because, like, for me, fast food, it just digests so easily. Like, it's kind of terrifying.
Well, yeah,
So...
it's already processed so bad, right?
But I mean, I know exactly. And then we talked about mental load. I know exactly what I'm ordering when I go in there. I'm not deciding and having a big moment about it, because when you're resting, you're resting. You don't want to be like even, it sounds silly, but don't stand when you can sit. Don't sit when you can lie down. Like all of that sort of theory really applies. And I think when it comes to your stops, you're going to want to take the maximum time you can to actually relax, not to be like, oh, let me go walk to the thing and figure out what to order and what to do. Like, just take all that away from your, decision tree.
So how many pairs of cycling shorts and stuff like that do we need, and what kind of clothes? Because let me tell you what I'm thinking right off the top of my head, and you tell me how I'm wrong. So I'm thinking somebody might say a different pair of cycling shorts every day. And then, well, maybe, I guess you could wash them if you got a hotel room at night. And then another one would be, a wool base layer, and then a raincoat, a thin raincoat layer. And then we learned that from backpacking. And then do we wear do we wear pretty much the same kit every day and just wash it at night? Or are we going to be putting on cold, wet clothes in the morning because it didn't come out? Or just I know, or is it a personal preference thing? Because some people say they like a clean, if it's like just a couple days, a few days, they can afford to pack a spare set of cycling shorts, so that they got a fresh pair of cycling shorts.
I mean, I don't mess with the bibs. It's a fresh bib every single day, because the thing that will destroy you, if you get a saddle sore that's like just going to cripple you, you're going to be miserable. So
Harry Breath PBP, you brought different cycling shorts every day.
Every day was a fresh bib. Like I just was not messing with it. And I would actually, a finer point on that, a different chamois. So if you could, let's say you have two different brands that you like, I actually think that changing the brand kind of helps like the pressure points, right? Now I'm getting really into the details, but I would use a Panormal bib day 1, an Azos bib day 2, and then a Panormal bib day 3. Like just because it was like alternating. Yeah. Did it really make a difference? I don't know. I thought so, but as far as a jersey, like I would wear the same jersey 2 days. If you want to go 3, you can. Same with a base layer. Like that stuff to me, I think 2 days is probably enough, because you're going to get sweaty and it's going to get kind of salty and gross. And like, it'll feel good on the day 3 because you're going to be tired anyways. So like treat yourself to a fresh jersey on day 3. But, and then socks, I would just bring another extra pair, because I don't know, what if it rains and whatever, and you don't want to put on wet socks on day 2. That's going to be kind of
that's true.
unpleasant.
We know about that from backpacking. You want to bring as many fresh pairs of socks as you can stand, because that's for backpacking, right? Because so much of that depends on your feet. Like you really need to take care of your feet backpacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But where with cycling, you really need to take care of your undercarriage.
Big time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so well, go ahead. You had something.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think like you can weigh out your kit, right? Which again sounds mental, but like you can pick a jersey. I like a wool based jersey. So and then I get really nerdy about it. There's one from PineBurden320 that actually has a double zipper that I really like, because again, you just want to have as much options as possible, right? Modularity is kind of the name of the game. I use arms, so arms and knees in case it gets a little chilly. And then there's this thing called a burner that I really like, and it's just a little piece of down that you put under your bib straps. Yes. And it's just that little warmth for you.
Yes, I showed that to Kai because that's what the pros do in the Tour de France, for example. When they go over the top of a mountain, they built up so much heat, so they're sweaty. And they're at 10,000, 11,000 feet. And when they go over the top and then they start descending, they're doing 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, soaking wet at first at like 10,000 feet. And so what they do is they grab newspaper from support crews and they stuff it down their jerseys. Yeah. They crest over. You can see them as they're coming over the top. People will hand them things like newspapers and torn up magazine, and they stuff it down their jerseys, writing "no hands." And the commentators are always like, yeah, they're putting that in as a wind block on their chest, because when they start going downhill at that high speed, they're going to freeze to death. And then the next at the bottom of the hill, they like or mountain, they dump it. But you had this thing that was like a quilt, like a 1.5 foot by 2 foot, if that big, like chest plate of like these black puffy jackets that we all wear.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
That same kind of material, but you could pack it up into like a tiny little thing.
It came with its own little stuff sack. So it's a company called Albion. It's out of the UK. I mean, if anybody knows crappy weather, it's the folks in the UK. And it's so handy because it's super small, but it just does, like you're saying, it really makes a big difference descending, or even just when the cold comes in. Like you're going to be riding into the twilight and it gets kind of chilled at that point. So instead of having to bring like, okay, let me pack a giant puffy jacket or something. I mean, you kind of want to think about, again, modularity. Like, am I going to bring a rain jacket and maybe this burner thing? And then that could be my like outer layer, because it's a rain jacket and it's a jacket, it'll do a couple different duties.
So then another thing that crossed my mind was so let's say the first night we stop at a hotel, and then we're going to want to go get Mexican food, I imagine. And then we're going to be all gross and stinky. And we'll shower and all that stuff. But then what do we bring as far as clothes? And then the second night, we're going to be at Kai's girlfriend's place, and they're going to have zero tolerance for us being all gross and stinky. But we only have so much room to carry clothes, like street clothes, right? So when we get out of all the cycling gear, if you wear synthetic stuff, it starts to stink. So do we pack like cotton t-shirts, or like try to find some wool, whatever, so that day 2, day 3, it's not stinking anymore when we go out to eat at night or we're around people?
Take a shower before we go out. But
then you still got to bring a fresh pair of clothes.
Yeah.
So what do you bring, Lisa, for like clothes for the street?
Well, for the most part, I try to eat when I'm still in my cycling gear. Like when I go to the hotel, it is done. Like we are not leaving the biodome at that point. Like we're in. So
but you're doing like 20 hours and then a 4-hour sleep. We're going to be doing like 10 hours at most.
But I mean, I personally, so on this last trip, I brought 2 base layers. The first day base layer, I wore 2 days. So the second base layer I used as a t-shirt for when I would go out. So if you kind of think about it that way, again, you're going to reuse that first base layer. I wouldn't bring cotton anything. It's heavy and it's like,
that's true.
Especially
when it's wet, it gets real heavy.
Yeah, and if you have a base layer, it kind of looks like a t-shirt anyways, so that can do double duty. I would find a pair of light shorts if you could, or those really light sort of like pants. I don't know what you call those, athletic pants, I guess. For me, I wear like leggings, and again, it's insane, but I like weigh them to see which leggings were lighter than the other ones. But and I do not bring shoes. No shoes. You're gonna wear their bike. No, absolutely not. Bike shoes. Just walk in your bike shoes. It's not fun, but that's again why I'm not exactly like going places without my bike.
Flip-flops for when we're walking around. We can't go to that Mexican restaurant wearing bike shoes in there. I mean, our feet are going to be like, we're done with wearing bike shoes.
I mean, you take them
or
off.
Like shower shoes, like real flat shower shoes or slippers or something.
You could. I just
a place we don't have to go to a place where you like sit down and stuff either. Like fast food's fine.
Mm-hmm. If it's Chipotle, they don't care.
Yeah, Chipotle.
There you go.
So then with the restaurants, we need to do some research where we're staying and what's available. Now, I know in Huntsville they have everything. Now, Crockett, Texas is not going to have everything. Huntsville's a college town.
Is there a hotel?
There's a hotel in Crockett. They have a Holiday Inn Express.
It's good enough.
And then, but I haven't looked yet to see what's around that Holiday Inn Express. Because again, we're not going to have a car, so we're going to need to bike or walk to a Mexican restaurant or to a Chipotle or a McDonald's, right?
Definitely.
And see how far that is. And to a gas station to re-up on snacks and treats, right? As we continue on.
So you would suggest going to like a restaurant or something before you get to the hotel?
I personally do. Yeah. Like if we're coming in for the night, like, we pulled into Monterey, it's like 7 p.m. We just went and had dinner first. So, hey, here's an In-N-Out burger, or there's a McDonald's or whatever. And we ate our dinner and then we went to the hotel. Because you leaving that hotel mentally and physically is going to be like impossible. Like you're just like,
okay.
I live here now. Once you enter and you're going to have a shower, you're done. It's game over.
Because you're so tired. Yeah. Okay. And then you're not going to go get enough food and you're going to be really tired the next day.
It's a mess. So
go ahead and get your food as
you're
settling in.
I would personally.
That's smart.
Yeah.
And you're on your bike, right? And that gets you there.
It's super simple. And that's why, to Kai's point, like fast food joints, hey, McDonald's has happily let me bring my bike in every single time. They never give me hassle. So like spots like that is super handy.
Yeah. Okay. What other questions do you have?
Like I know we're gonna stop for lunch and probably breakfast and dinner and stuff, but is there any food like you would suggest, like solid food, like I guess like normal food to bring while riding? I know I've had like sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah. What kind of solid food should we pack?
Because I know like gels and stuff over time, it doesn't digest very well.
It kind of gets really bricky in me, at least for me. I would start to figure out, honestly, if you can get some nutrition in your bottles. So like, honestly, the stuff I make is sugar, sodium citrate, and Gatorade or Country Time lemonade or whatever. That's it.
Did you learn that from me? Or did you?
Yeah, but it's super simple.
It's all the rage the past couple of years. People figured that out. That's all you need.
And that's it. And everyone's selling all these like insanely expensive things when literally it's just pour a bunch of sugar, Gatorade, but the sodium citrate is the move. That's what you need because otherwise stuff gets too funky. Now,
Guy's laughing so hard because
that's exactly what we use.
Because about a year ago, I was on Slow Twitch, which is the big triathlon forum, and a food professor, a food scientist, was on there saying, "Hey, look, they figured out, fructose to sucrose. The ratio of that is actually more important than the osmolality. Osmolality is very important, but the thing that's more important is the ratio of sugar to fructose to sucrose, right? So they go kind of hand in hand." And the number one thing that has the perfect ratio is just straight up table sugar.
Yeah.
And so you get that, and then you get your sodium citrate. That way that you can do your sodium without getting sick to your stomach. Because if you do table salt, make you freaking sick, and the other pink Himalayan salt, like all that stuff. The chloride in table salt makes you sick to your stomach. But if you get your sodium from sodium citrate, your body can handle that. That way you can get all the sodium you need for your electrolytes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I taught Kai that a year ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You used it for a long time. I was just using Gatorade Endurance.
Right. Which is close.
It's pretty close, but
you're paying a lot of money too for that, for Gatorade.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, remember, you're going to figure out your carbs per hour. Like, you need to up that Gatorade significantly if you're going to get anywhere close to the 80 grams an hour. And then, or let's say you don't want to drink that much. The thing is that's going to happen is you don't want to have to eat all the time. Like, to eat sandwiches is actually kind of tough. Like, it's sore. It sounds silly, but your jaw hurts. So like, finding food that you like, but that's kind of easy to eat. So for me, like Swedish fish and all sorts of gas station candy, that works great. Rice Krispie squares, pancakes, Stroop waffles, like literally anything. Oreo cookies. I mean, honestly, a sleeve of Oreo cookies is magic, and it's super easy to just toss in a couple of those. So yeah, figure out your carbs per hour, figure out what you can get in your bottles, and then just eat a little so that you don't feel like you're kind of, I don't know, like not anything in your stomach, you know, but then that way you don't have to rely, because if you just did this with Gatorade and food, I mean, you'd be eating every 10 minutes and it would feel kind of gross.
So on the route and the streets and roads and the planning that itself, what do you like? I got two screens open. I'm just planning a route in the route itself, like in Garmin Connect, because that's the easiest to get it on my Garmin. But like Strava has planning routes. There's all kinds of stuff like that. Is there a route planner that actually, what I find is I have two windows open. I've got the route planning software.
Yeah.
But then also, because I can't figure out one without doing way more research, that actually has Google Street View built into it. Because then I'm on Google Street View to see how wide the shoulder is. If I want to go down this road, or I want to go down that road, because I got choices, right? And I'm like, if I'm going to be on a state highway, or we're crossing a bridge over the Trinity River, which bridge I have two different bridge crossings to choose from. Which one actually has a shoulder on it that's 3-4 feet wide instead of the one with no shoulder, you know, whatsoever. So how do you plan out your route so that you can actually see what's going on the streets?
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of use those Strava heat maps and like the Strava, like this is what cyclists do kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Because that way it's kind of like, for the most part, does a pretty good job. I mean, you're going to find yourself on some crappy part at some point. It's just going to happen. You can't perfectly plan everything. And that kind of goes to that moment in the ride. There will be a moment that's going to be the dark moment of this ride. And I think also preparing yourself for how are you going to mentally get through that part, right? So for me, like I have a little picture of my mom and she's with me in my bike, and like, and I have a little mantra on the stem of my bike, and that's how I get through the tough stuff. So you got to figure out for you how you're going to sort of pull yourself through the dark part. Because if you have a little bit of a strategy going into it, like now I'm on a highway with a bunch of crazy trucks and this really sucks, and why am I here? And it's 200 miles in my legs and all the bad stuff's going to happen. So figure out now. I've done brevets where I've written stuff on my stem just so I could look at it and be like, all right, like there's endurance guys that is it TKO? Oh no, TTO, time to commit, TTC. There you go. And they write that, and that's what their sort of mantra is. So long story short, figure out your thing. And then on this route, I mean, just try your best to like avoid anything gross that you can, but know that you can avoid all of it. So
Kai, mine will be in Star Wars when Darth Vader can't stand to see the Emperor like shooting Luke with lightning. And then he goes, no. So if you hear me, we're on a highway and there's no shoulder and traffic's going 70 miles an hour, and I just go, no. I'm at my limit. I'm trying to be funny.
That's good.
Yeah. What's the worst road interaction you've had with somebody, and how are you here today to have survived it?
Uh, with a car or with a cyclist or with a dog or
Yeah, I
like
guess whichever. Yeah, one of
I
each.
mean, I had a dog that almost like took me out once and I had to take like the pump off my bike and like almost bop him on the nose. So that was pretty cool. I've had, I mean, so many crazy trucks and cars, and I mean, it's not even funny because it's terrifying. But I
Yeah.
think, just trying to stay focused when you're on the road is important, and just whatever happens, like don't overreact, right? Because
Okay. Don't
like
over. Okay.
don't overcorrect, don't over anything, don't just whatever you're doing, just always try to stay calm and like just don't over like yeah, don't overreact because that's when you're gonna do something dumb.
So what bike computer do you use? Because on the fly, I'm using a really small screen, but Kai's got a better, bigger, you got an 845, 850, 870, with a touch screen, which is I've heard that's, man, for mapping, when you're really doing stuff on the roads where you're trying to, on the fly, like figure out what you're doing, a touch screen bike computer. That way you don't have to press buttons to pan. Like I have to press buttons to pan and zoom, and Kai can actually, you can just push yours, right? And pinch to zoom, and see like what the next road. What do you use for navigating?
Yeah. I use a Wahoo Roam. So it just has buttons on the side. But it's a good point you bring up. At some point, you don't want to look at your mileage, right? There's this thing that will happen so figure out the screens so you can already ahead of time make some screens that you can look at that either don't say the time or don't say the mileage or anything that's going to cue you to be like, oh my God, it's only been 20 minutes. Like it felt like we've been riding for 4 hours, so stuff like that. And I kind of like to play through those screens because then I'm like the other day, I think we were riding, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours, and neither one of us wanted to look at where we were. And so we're like, no, don't know, don't care, keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I've played around with different variations of that, and it really does work. And one that I found that works sometimes, it depends on what the event and like what you're doing. But like some of them, if you're looking at it the wrong way, if you're looking at like the time since you started, right? And sometimes it's better to look to see how much time it estimates you got left. And I know that can be demoralizing. It's the opposite of what you were just saying a minute ago. But for as far as fueling and pacing yourself, sometimes it's like you got 3 hours left, which is like a really good one for like Ironman bike ride, where you're like, oh crap, I got 3 hours left. I'm riding, I got 1 hour left. This is not smart. And like I got 3 hours to go. I need to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. But yeah, you're definitely right. If stuff is going to have like a negative impact on you, you turn that off the screen. And another one is one thing that I've learned to turn off for me is miles per hour average. Because I told you that one like early on, Kai, right? Because what you'll do is you're so close, you're riding like 7.9, and you're like, oh, if I just go a little bit harder, I'll be 18.
Yeah.
If you want to hit these numbers, or like this ride, you did 18 or 19, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. Then what you're doing is you're pushing yourself too hard, right? Because the conditions are different and stuff, and you don't feel as good, or you don't have as much energy. So you should, in my experience, it's been totally take off average miles per hour.
Yeah. Embrace that zone.
Sometimes depends on
just embrace that zone 1 energy, guys. It's going to be great.
Zone 1. That's exactly true. This is the low end of zone 2.
You're just
definitely
zone 1 forever.
Zone 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I have any other questions. Okay. Let's see. I had them up here somewhere.
Sure.
And okay. How often do you stop? How do you train? First aid kit. We haven't talked about stopping. Let's see. Bike spare parts. Do you bring a chain breaker? Do you bring a spare chain link?
Yes, always. Actually, chain link, Obviously have a chain brake on your multi-tool, and then also get one of those little Presta valve converters. So if you hit a gas station, you can use the gas station pump, right? Because you need that little Schrader Presta converter.
Yeah, I used to ride with those all the time. Yeah. And then back when it was definitely usable, I had them on my BMX bike too. And so like, okay. And then we talk about how many kits, and then what do we need to go over? So do you bring a spare pair of bike cleats in case a bolt comes in? Do you bring any spare bolts?
No, well, technically the bolts on your frame, you could actually use that in your bike cleat if you had to. So you can always use a water bottle cage bolt in your cleat.
Yeah.
If you're using SPDs, I think.
Yeah. They need to be kind of like low profile. It helps for them to be.
It'll work in a pinch. I mean, you know, hell, a bolt doesn't carry much. If you wanted to throw one in your kit, you could. But
okay, yeah. So let's talk about that. You posted on Instagram again, hustle and a half, and I commented on it because it's two totally different mindsets, right? You were weighing stuff. You were like, and I commented, this is my kind of crazy. I love this. You were weighing leggings to see which one's lighter, right? And I'm like, that does matter. But also coming from the triathlon background and the racing background, it's like, well, aerodynamics matters too. So which one like packs down the smallest to make you spend less time on the road fighting the wind because you've packed it down a little bit.
That's true.
So, I really appreciated that map in backpacking for sure. You know, people cut the corners off. If they have a paper map, they will cut the corners off their maps. You buy a map and then you cut off the part of the map you know you're not going to need. I mean, that is a milligram, right? And they'll cut the handles off their toothbrushes. So it's like half of a toothbrush.
Yeah. I mean, it can get really crazy. Like I'm not sawing. I mean, I'm not going to saw the bar ends off my handlebar, but like, yeah, people can go pretty bonkers. I think there's going to be like, it's a little, the endurance world is a little bit weight and aero, and also I need it, right? Like that's when it kind of goes to crap and you're like, well, but I need it. Cause you know, you could say, well, you don't need a spoke, but mentally that gives you a little bit of confidence. So you know what? It's something that you do need now. So I think it's weighing the pros and cons of some of this stuff and figuring out what gives you confidence that you have everything you need to be successful, but doesn't turn into overpacking. Like I'm going to bring 3 t-shirts because we're going to stop 3 days, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I do like the Zen thing and sit there and I wouldn't call it meditate, but like just try not to think of anything and then think of what bothers you. And like what bothers me is like, dude, we've busted some spokes in the past year, probably about 4 or 5 spokes each. Well, maybe 2 for you. Yeah, 2. But I busted about 3. And it turns out the sealant that I was using had ammonia in it. The old version of Stan sealant has ammonia in it. And if you have, there's 2 different people use usually 2 different types of nipples on the spokes. And if they're aluminum, ammonia will eat the aluminum nipples and then they'll corrode and then snap. If you have brass nipples, I think it doesn't matter.
You didn't have that old of sealant though.
Did.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, well, I had sealant laying around that was old. And I used that. And Stan's since then has changed their formula. But I sent Kai a message. There was a review out for Pirelli, just came out with some sealant. And it uses ammonia as their carrier agent, you know, to help it evaporate. And I'm like, they're counting on the fact that you're using brass nipples or carbon spokes or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
and also it stains the yellow in the yellow to be like Tour de France, and it stains and then you're going to get yellow on your kit if it starts spraying if you get
it made me think of another thing, that if you have electronic shifting, you're going to want to make sure that you charge your bike before you leave, right? Just charge your bike. Know that you have the charge that you need, all that sort of stuff. When it comes to charging your devices, I mean, you're going to have check the cords that you're bringing with you. I've done that where I'm like, this one will work. And turns out it doesn't work at all.
I've got several Garmin cables and one of them does not work or doesn't work reliably.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to get it in just right. And then you wake up in the morning, nothing's charged.
Yeah,
So
no,
we're not bringing
that's
that
awesome. Yeah.
one. But tell us about your bike that you got behind you. You got one with fenders on it.
Yes, that's my so that's a Mariposa. So it's a custom steel bike made in Canada by Michael Berry, who was on US Postal Service back in the day, Team Sky, all this sort of stuff. So so his dad started this bike company, and he built this bike for me for Perry Brest and now for all my randonneuring. I have a dynamo hub in the front, so it runs lights front and rear. I have fenders on it now, but I take them off when I don't need them. This is Princeton Carbon Works wheels, NV cockpit, and seat post. What else? Dura-Ace and Kusami tubing, steel tubing, which is kind of smaller. Like, it's kind of nice. I didn't need to have a huge frame. I'm not a big person. And an NV fork too. So
Kusami, is that Japanese tubing?
Yeah, so it's kind of nice. It's hard to see, but the tubings are actually pretty small in comparison to normal steel bikes or normal bikes. And then
But it gives it more flex and comfort, I bet. So.
Steel feels amazing. I mean, I actually just got a titanium bike, which is a whole other story. That's a shop. It's a whole mess. But yeah, steel, titanium, it just feels so compliant. And on these long rides, I'm using 32s, GP 5000s. But that's something else to think about is your tire choice and your tire pressure. So just finding that right balance of speed and comfort. Like, I had 35s on at one point and they were just way too slow. Like, it was like insane. So, but since you're doing gravel, I mean, you might need a bit of a knobbier tire, but it might slow you down. So you have to play that out.
All right. Do you have any more questions, Kai? We're running up on our time limit.
Yeah.
Are you going to look at our course and give us any advice offline?
I would say I will happily look at your course. I think the main thing is really figuring out where you're stopping, like pre-game it. Like, okay, we're going to have lunch here. There's a McDonald's, right? Like, figure out that stuff and figure out where you can, if there's water, like, you're going to want to be able to find your water stops, right? The gas stations, whatever. And then try as best you can to do your practice ride, but do it where, just like you're going to do day 2 of this thing. Because day 1, you're going to leave and you're going to have all your food and everything's great. And then day 2 happens and you're like, oh crap, I got to drink a Coke. And like, what am I doing? So practice, but as if it was day 2 and day 3. So do that on your practice rides. Go to a gas station, make your bottles out of the, Country Time lemonade you're going to buy there or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
luckily, we've done a lot of that.
Sits.
We've packed fuel and stuff in Ziplocs and made stuff. We have done a ton of really hard 70 to up to 100-mile rides where you got to stop at gas stations and walk right through the gas station and not care what anybody thinks and make more fuel, because carrying pre-made fuel where it's already in the water is like so heavy, right? So we'll carry water for like 3 hours, and then carry the powder and stuff to make fuel again. And who cares what people say in the parking lot? It looks like you're making crack or something in the parking lot. Powder and dust. I mean, if anything, people are curious. They're like, what are you doing? Like, So
there's a little bit of a savagery that happens when you do this endurance stuff. Like, all of a sudden now you're peeing in the woods and you're just like, whatever. Like, but that's kind of part of the excitement and the fun. And I will say, a space blanket is also not a bad thing to think about taking.
That's a good,
because
those really help.
I mean, hell, you could even wear it as like a bit of a windbreaker if you needed to. I've done a ditch nap. Sometimes you just need like, all right, I'm taking 90 minutes or whatever, and you just sleep on the ground.
And we've had on our Philmont, the New Mexico backpacking trip, we had 1 kid or 2 kids go hypothermic at 12,000 feet elevation in the rain. I had to pack people in a tent to keep people warm.
Yeah.
Space blankets,
Burn
Mhm.
trash.
burn trash, which is very much
Oof.
against the rules. You do not want to burn
Wow.
trash.
Yeah, I guess not.
But dude, seriously, we had
Yeah.
trash
Everything was
and everybody's just shaking, and we know
Oh
trash is
no.
plastic, and like gotta burn it
Oh my gosh.
because we know it'll
That's
catch.
crazy.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And they're all hovering around burning trash, like trying to stay warm,
Oh my God.
like it's a trash barrel, like
Wow.
in a bad
Oh
neighborhood or
man.
something like that. And
Oh.
then yeah, so the space blanket, you're definitely right. I'm gonna add that to the list. That
And
really,
then the last thing I'll say is bring your chamois cream with you. Now, like
yeah,
little
I got that.
pots. And I also bring a little on the bike with me as well, right? So that you can always put some more on. I have an aftercare routine that I like. I use the Azos aftercare stuff. And there's also this stuff out of the UK called double base gel. You can find it on Amazon, and it's an emollient. And it's just after a long day on the bike, I'll put that sort of everywhere. And it keeps me saddle sore free. But that's my own personal blend. So
you mentioned before we got started on the show something about nutrition and fueling, and that you've got something coming. Maybe can you talk about that at all, or you want to keep that?
Yeah, I mean, coming soon, but I'd love to share with everyone eventually. I'll announce it on my Instagram at Hustle and a Half what we're making, but some endurance fuel. So watch this space.
All right, we will. Yeah, so
amazing.
everybody go check out Lisa on Hustle and a Half. It's lots of tips. It's funny, and you make a mix of not just like sitting at home showing like, you know, this, that, and the other. Like you do videos of like out on the road as well. It's like the perfect combination of both.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well,
And
I'm super stoked for you guys. Have an amazing trip. Enjoy
Yeah.
yourselves. Can't wait to hear the stories.
yeah, thank you. You're a real
Yeah,
inspiration
thank
to us.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Well, this has been super fun. Geez, thank you so much. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you for doing the call with us.
Of course. Yeah. Well, if you have more questions that come up, just hit me up. I'm more than happy to help you out.
Probably will.
Yeah. And when are you going? Like, when is the departure?
Yeah, it's funny. We're not going to add this into the show, but like she's talking about like, you know, we need to do some practice rides. We're doing this next week.
Oh shit. Oh, damn.
But thank God we have done a lot of practice rides.
You'll be great.
And we have done races. We've done 156-mile gravel ride. And then I've done an Ultraman, you know, which is like crazy, like 3-day thing.
Wow.
And that's 9-10 hours a day hard.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you get off the bike, it's eating, like just like calories. And then I did okay in that because I took that for real. Like you got to eat like, as much as you can. And then this will be a little bit difficult because it'll be cold. But we're going. One reason we're doing it is Christmas break, and I have to week off. And then the weather will be good. Aside from the cold, I mean it's cold for here. It'll be 40 degrees or something like that.
Yeah,
it's the coldest, but it'll be no rain.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
We want to avoid the rain, as you've been through recently.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah,
amazing. Oh, guys,
2/3 of our course is going to be places we've never been, so that'll be awesome.
Adventure, embrace the adventure. That'll be awesome. Well, hey, thanks again. I can't wait to hear the pod. And congrats. Have a fun time. Good to meet you, Kai and Brett.
Thank you.
Later, guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. Like I said before the interview, talking with her made us feel like we were totally going to be able to get this done. And like I mentioned, I did have a flat and I did break a spoke, both in the middle of pine forest, actually, in the middle of nowhere. And her advice totally came in handy. And overall, the trip went down pretty great. We got caught in the dark both nights on the first 2 nights, which was actually kind of cool. Being on the road and staying in unfamiliar places was really neat. Using our navigation skills from Boy Scouts and from high adventure backpacking and the confidence that those life experiences have given us made the National Forest just seem like, you know, just another place that we were. But what I'm going to do for the rest of this episode is we have talked enough about the pine burden and bikepacking. I'm going to make a second episode where I talk about how the trip actually went down day by day, because that's worthy enough of its own episode. And we're going to wrap up today with telling you a little bit about how the Fredericksburg Marathon mountain bike race went. Okay, the Fredericksburg race in the German Hill Country is called the Hügelland. My boss that speaks German corrected me on it somehow. Hügelland or something like that. That sounds Swedish. Hügelland Holiday Marathon. So it's a Christmas-themed race. They put Christmas presents in the trees, and the town of Fredericksburg goes batshit crazy over Christmas with the big parades and the German town square. There's German food, beer gardens. It is one of my favorite places to go to. I'm half German and Swedish, so I get a big kick out of it. Blankner is actually based on von Blanc, which is German for the White Baron in 1800s Germany. So needless to say, this is a lot of fun. And I've been going for 3 years now, I think. And the course is limestone, hills, a little bit of woods. It's got like mesas, generally cold, but you never know. But even if it rains, the soil, it's not soil, it's just like pulverized rock, drains really well. So they're going to have the race no matter what. You're starting to get into the desert geographically. Like I was saying earlier, east of Houston and Dallas, that's pine forest. West of that, you get prairie. And then west of Austin and San Antonio is where you start getting into desert. So Texas has 3 distinctive zones. It's got 4 zones. It's got 5 zones, actually. It's my geography degree. You got your coastline, which is its own beast of just pulverized by hurricanes on the regular. But anyway, the terrain is just awesome. And then the theme is awesome. And the town they hold it at is awesome this time of year. It's awesome every time of year. And the distance, 42 miles of mountain biking, is nuts. Most mountain bike races are 20-something miles for the expert level. So you're doing double that. And that's why it's called marathon mountain bike racing. Marathon mountain bike racing is a legit worldwide sport. They have nationals and worlds. Worlds last year or year before was in Turkey or Estonia. And how it works is because it's an endurance event, you generally have an older crowd, right? Because as we get older, we develop more and more slow twitch and less. We got more diesel and less pop. So we like to go longer because that's more of something that we enjoy. Let the kids go fast. We go long. But because it's an older crowd, they are definitely not interested in the parts of the mountain bike course that have big jumps or drops and stuff like that. So it would be like doing cross-country mountain biking 20, 30 years ago. We're doing another one coming up really soon in 2 weeks. And they purposely route around the big drops and stuff at this one mountain bike park and don't include them because people don't want to do that on a cross-country mountain bike when they're in their 50s or 60s. And that's a significant, not a majority, but it's a significant portion of the racing crowd. You have your young pros, but the point I'm trying to get at is you got to do this, man. This is so cool. If you have a mountain bike and you have an endurance background, you got to try marathon mountain biking. And you shouldn't be scared of it because they take out the spooky stuff. The one coming up in a couple weeks, I might do it on my gravel bike because there's actually a gravel road section to it, a long one. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So Kai won his age group last year or got second in his age group last year. And this year he decided to race Open Pro because he's a year better. He's a year older. He's 19 now. And then my goal was to improve on my time from last year, which I did. Very excited about that. And I'm just racing age group. And it's set up a lot like triathlon. Everybody's age group. And then you got your pros. And also for some perspective, Kai did okay. He didn't do as good as last year. And I can't remember why. I don't know if he had a fueling issue. No, he pulled his hamstring. Or was that a different race? But anyway, he had a personal issue and kind of treated the race like it was like a B race, not an A race. And these aren't very expensive anyway, so it's all right. And you can't have every race be an A race, it's all right. But again, for some perspective, took him just under 3.5 hours or 3 hours and 32 minutes. And, for a pro and difficulty level, it's a little bit less than doing pro level all out half Ironman. And then for me, let's see, I'm looking at the results right now because it was on December 2nd. It took me 4 hours and 26 minutes. And I think my record for a half Ironman is just a little bit over that, like 4:40. So again, it's like a little bit easier, a tiny bit than a half Ironman. So Kai and I drove out there and I think, we had Kai's girlfriend with us and she did bottle hand-ups to Kai as he came through. It's 3 laps. I love lapping courses as long as they're long enough and the scenery's good. Because then your first lap, you go easy. Your second lap, you push it a little bit harder. And your third lap, you give it your all, right? They're really easy to meter out your effort. And then every time you swing by, you can pick up more fuel and water and such. And what I did was I had 3 Camelbacks, all not full, but about half to 2/3 full. And as I swung through the aid station area, I just drop off one Camelback and grab another. And camelbacking and mountain biking is really crucial because reaching down to grab bottles and stuff and trying to blindly put bottles back in your frame is a really good way to crash. Hey! I'm having to pause because the dogs are barking, but if I pause every time they bark, we're never going to get this podcast out. So if you hear dogs barking, that's what that is. Another dog, dared to walk in front of the house, so they're losing their minds. So the race starts off with a gentle, gradual uphill, which I just absolutely love on a Jeep road, a ranch road. So there's all the room in the world for you to negotiate and, work your way around people that are slower than you or back off or whatever, kind of find your position before you hit the single track. It is fantastic. Unfortunately, when you hit that first single track, it is a little bit technical. It's like a gravel slide down the side of a hill. But again, that doesn't come for quite a while. And then it swings back around to the beginning of the race site. And then you hit the real single track. And I think it's like 8 to 10 minutes of that as your start. And so they did the whole thing. You do packet pickup. These races are great. Triathlon is just the worst with how early we have races. I kind of get why, but again, man, other sports do it right. 9 a.m. race start or something like that. You got all the time in the world to do packet pickup, eat a nice breakfast, put your numbers on, scope out the race site, do a warm up, everything. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, we're all lined up. Emily couldn't make it. I can't remember why, but she couldn't make it. She had a family thing going on. And then, they said go. And that's like 300 or 400 people maybe in this race, maybe less than that. And I parked myself at the very back because I just enjoy going my own pace on these things. I'm not a very good mountain biker, skills-wise. I thought I was, and then I learned I wasn't. And anyway, I have theories on that. I grew up mountain biking when the wheels were smaller and the fork angle was steeper, and it was so easy to crash and smash your face into things and break your neck that those of us that are older, having learned on these terrible mountain bikes, what turns out to be terrible mountain bikes, have a lot of fear to overcome and a lot of PTSD. I've seen people life flighted out of mountain bike places, and I've crashed so many times. And then since I got a modern mountain bike, since they modernized mountain bikes where they're stretched out and the fork sticks further out, and then you sit more in the bike than on top of it, they are so much harder to go over the bars. It's completely different. And, kids like Kai and people his age and a little bit older that grew up on the more modern mountain bikes with the 29-inch wheels and they're like wagon wheels. You can roll over everything and you never crash unless you do something really stupid. Then they have like no fear because why would they? And I have a lot of fear apparently to undo. And every time I ride, I get better and better and better. And I really enjoy it. It is so great to get involved in a sport where you kind of suck at it, and then you've got years ahead of you of getting good. That's the way I felt like when I started to learn to surf and stuff. So like I could not believe how bad I was at mountain biking. I'm like, oh, this is great. Because I know the more I mountain bike, the better I'll get. I got a lifetime ahead of me of doing this stuff, of always improving. Anyway, Kai's up at the very front. I can barely see him. There's a really funny video that Kylie took of people peeing in the bushes all around the race start. And she's like, oh my gosh, there's another dude peeing. And then they start everybody off. And then when I passed Kylie towards the back on video, I thought I kindly, handed off my jacket to her, but it looks like I just threw it in her face. And take off up the hill and on the 3 laps of limestone mesa hills and views of what looks like West Texas, but real West Texas is more like El Paso. Anyway, the race went really well for me. I was doing like 300 calories per hour, picking up a fuel bottle. That was another thing that I would pick up every lap. My bike frame only has one water bottle cage. I have a 2019, 2020 Canyon Neuron that's aluminum. And the year after that, they added a second bottle cage to it. And my mountain bike really isn't a cross-country mountain bike. It's more of a trail downcountry mountain bike. So it's like I had a cross-country mountain bike before that, an Orbea Alma, and it was faster, but it was a hardtail. And my bike is a aluminum, kind of heavy Canyon, really beefy and burly. I like it. It's great for me. And mountain biking is not the sport where I'm interested in being like really, really fast. It's fun to try to be fast, but I'm out there just to survive. Kai can be fast. So Kai's got a race bike. He's got a Trek Super Caliber, like 9.7 or 9.8. And they only go up to like 9.9. So it's like his is a top end racing bike. And that thing is crazy fast. My bike is not fast. Mine's more like a truck. His is like a race car. But then I've got like 50 pounds on him. So it's okay. But then I've got like 30, 40 pounds on him. But then I've got like 30 pounds on him. So it's fine. It doesn't make that much difference to me. So I'm a decent cyclist, but I'm not a great mountain biker. So this thing takes me about 4.5 hours, about an hour longer than somebody like Kai. And I'm just out there enjoying it. Oh, you can also wear headphones. They don't seem to care. A shorter mountain bike race, I don't know if you should wear headphones. That might be frowned upon. I did a bunch of shorter mountain bike races. And I'm trying to remember if I wore headphones or not. I don't think I did the past year or two. I did all the short races on the circuit here in Texas with Kai and even up in Oklahoma. And that improved my times a lot. I got way faster, way more confidence, way better at dropping in this stuff. So I definitely improved over last year by like 20 or 30 minutes, which is always nice, especially as you're getting older to actually get faster. And it was on the exact same bike. So no tricks there, just better skills. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Kai won last year. And because I remember last year, I got a phone call while I was on my bike. I was about halfway through the last lap. And Kai goes, "Where are you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Where are you?" He's like, "I'm at the finish line." I go, "Oh, how'd you do?" And he's like, "I won." And then I almost crashed because I was like, "Whoa, really?" Well, this year I didn't get that phone call. Kai got, I think, like 14th overall. And last year he won his age group. But this year he raced pro and then he got 14th. But Kai's got the right mentality where if he doesn't do well, outwardly he doesn't show that it bothers him. I'm sure it does. But he'll just say, "Oh, it's all right. There's always next race," or something like that. So I was really proud of him for that kind of attitude. And plus he had a really successful fall at his college racing stuff. So all of his eggs weren't in this basket. But a couple other tricks that I did was Kai pre-rode most of the course the day before. I took a day off from work, got there the day before, and that afternoon, the day before, pre-riding and mountain biking is crucial. And it's because you go way faster having kind of just solved the problems the day before. So then when you hit them at race pace the day of, you've just been through there. It's completely different than road riding where it really doesn't matter that much. Mountain biking, it totally matters. To the point of a lot of times they run races backwards so the locals aren't used to it on a mountain bike course. Anyway, there was 2 spots that I typically get spooked on or have trouble with. And one is, like I said, where the trail goes from Jeep Road down to the single track for the first time. There's a sketchy downhill that has loose rock and it's off camber and it slopes off to one side and then there's barbed wire fence off the side of that. It's like, I'm just making it sound so terrible now that I think about it. It is pretty bad. But if you just point your bike straight down it, that's the thing about modern mountain bikes. If you just point it straight, it'll go there. It'll go where your bike will go where you point it. These modern bikes, they're amazing. All that weight riding between wagon wheels, how could they not, Anyway, then there was another section where there was a 2-foot drop off of an edge where there was actually a good spot to go down it, I found, where you could roll down it easier, but you can't see it as you're coming up on it. So what I did is past it, I put some rocks stacked. I was out there by myself. So I knew where to aim my bike. I aim my bike as I'm coming down the trail for those rocks over there. Then as I come up to the edge, that's the spot where my bike will roll down it. I've done that before, scoping out. I do that a lot, actually. Scoping out the Austin Half Ironman, there was a portion that went over a railroad track where the railroad track had an edge to it. It was going to flat your tires and you're hitting it at speed. And the day before we went out and looked at the course and with a piece of white rock, so it was like chalk, I drew arrows on the ground, on the pavement of where to go over the railroad track, where it was actually the one place where it was smooth, only like 3 or 4 inches wide. And I could hear people flatting around me as I went over this one spot. I could go over at high speed and it worked. Anyway, those are the kind of tricks that you learn from Zen and the Art of Triathlon is that there's a lot of things you can do to make your race safer and easier if you think about it. And then on the race course, there was a section that I found difficult the past 2 years because it just seemed to kind of go on, and it's when you're tired. And so I went and pre-rode that and kind of got that out of my head of what that was like, and that it really wasn't that bad, and it wasn't. And so I got that all out of the way. So my race ended up going really great. I hit I went down the rubble straight. I have a dropper post and set my ass way back and down low and just went straight down. And I went off the little drop-off thing, pointed at the rocks each time, didn't have to dismount. The first year I did that race, like 3 years ago, I had to walk some of both of those because I was so spooked. And now I just go down it, no problem. But it does take a little bit of prep work for me. I mentioned these places to Kai, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, shut up, dude. Anyway, then... yeah, the race was over. Kai had been done for almost an hour. And we watched the ceremony, which was really cool, chill and laid back. And they had free beer at the end. A lot of these races do. And burgers, free burgers, actually. And then we packed up and came home. And it was really great. Had a really nice time. And I'm definitely planning on doing it again next year. And again, the reason I'm doing these races instead of just road triathlons is that, like gravel, I kind of discovered it by accident. I didn't go out of my way to go do these things. I just got kind of drawn into them by life circumstances and then found that they were awesome. When you go off-road on a bike long enough, like gravel biking or mountain biking, the beating your body takes because you're off-road works your upper body kind of like the swim of an Ironman. Like you're sore the day after. And the very first one of these that I did that was a long race like that, I felt like I'd been in a car wreck. I was like, wow, this was crazy. And that took several hours. I was like, man, what a cool thing to do. And then it's bikes, so it's fun, it's fast. And then because they're off-road, the scenery is fantastic. So I highly, hello? Yeah?
Running in to see my there, and then
okay.
Did you already eat something for dinner? Or?
No, I'm recording my podcast. So
okay, so when I get there,
yeah,
that way to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a good day?
Yeah, good day.
Me too. Okay, well.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
And then the longer races, like marathon mountain biking and like gravel ride races, they're not as technical because they're more interesting to an older crowd already. And older crowd is not interested in going to work the next day and wondering where the wheelchair ramp is, or if their desk is handicap or bathroom at work is handicap accessible. So that's what I always think of. Dude, sometimes I've got myself in some situations and I'm like, I'm wondering, and I can say this because I was in a wheelchair briefly as a kid. I got run over by a car. So I'm like, I wonder if my desk, if I'm in a wheelchair, how would I get to my desk at work? And then I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This is not what you should be doing right now. And anyway, so those thoughts don't really cross your mind when you're doing marathon mountain biking or gravel riding. And if you do crash, you're off-road and it's like usually into some grass or it's not on the pavement, it's like on the gravel where you kind of roll along a little bit. You're not going quite the same high speeds as you would like on a road bike. And the events are long and they're exhausting. And it's the scene, like I said, the scenery is awesome. So you mix this in with Ironmans and stuff. It's just so fantastic. I can see myself doing marathon mountain biking as long as I possibly can. And there's some old dudes doing it, way older than me. An interesting side note is whether or not they allow e-bikes in it, e-mountain bikes. Now, I know in road racing, they probably never allow that. But in mountain biking, sometimes they have an e-bike. I've noticed they have an e-mountain bike category, like they do, like they have a single speed category. But I didn't notice that this year. I wonder if it's kind of come and gone. And like in races, you just don't do that. And here, I think it's probably regional. Because when we do the local time trial in the summer, there's a guy on an e-mountain bike and he gets a star by his name that he was on an e-mountain bike, but he participates and he loves it. And I don't think he'd participate without it. And I'm glad he's there. So I don't know what to think of it. I don't have a really strong opinion on it, one way or the other, as long as they're in a separate category. It's kind of like the whole transgender thing in racing. I'm like, kind of have an opinion about it, but also I don't really care. But I definitely want people to enjoy sports and be able to race and stuff. And since guys do have an advantage over girls in lots of this go ahead and race, but then you just get your own category or something. What's the problem? I don't see what the big deal is. But boy, am I stepping on a landmine with that. To some people, it's a really big deal. And I understand. I don't know. If you have an interesting opinion on that, send me an email and maybe I'll read it on the show. But that's a different perspective, an unusual perspective from experience or some sort of fact or something like that. I know all the facts about it. I'd be more interested in a take on it that most people don't know. If you've got a strong opinion on e-bikes in racing or transgender men in women's sports, send me an email at texafornia@gmail.com and I'll either read it on the show or throw it right in the hot trash. The one thing you learn in Zen, one of the many things you learn in Zen is to hold tightly to opinions. You get yourself in trouble because things change, and to plant your flag strongly in the one area, you're just setting yourself up to be embarrassed later on when you find out that you're wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up this show. Next episode is going to be the day by day of the PineBurden320. Thank you again, Lisa, for joining us for the show. Again, she's at Hustle and a Half on Instagram. Don't forget, I do coaching, triathlon, Ironman, gravel biking, swimming, and trail running. All three of the sports are all three combined into one. And I use Training Peaks. Send an email to texafornia@gmail.com. I've always got a spot open. Be glad to pick you up and train you to be the most awesome that you could be. I've figured out how to train at a level where I just have to tweak my training a little bit and I can do just about any sport pretty well. And for years, I think my training stress score has been hovering around 115, which is like a slow pro, definitely a top age grouper. And it's all about training choices, lifestyle choices, training right, finding that balance of how much to swim, bike, and run, when to do intervals, when not to. And of course, my history is I've got 15 Ironmans under my belt, an Ultraman, 100-mile trail run race, bunch of 50-mile trail run races, lately a bunch of gravel biking races. And one was a USI Worlds qualifier in Arkansas. But again, my specialty is I love getting people really fit and training right for ultra long distance events and enjoy seeing them build up to being the athlete that they've always wanted to be. So yeah, you can just send me an email at texafornia@gmail.com. I charge $200 a month, totally personalized coaching. We can get you started today. No startup fee. You can pause anytime you want. We're very laid back here. We do the right things right and let everything else just kind of fall in place. It's a beautiful thing once you figure it out. Oh, and one thing I always tell my coaching clients, eventually, I feel like I need to remind them, I'm not here to be your coach forever. It would not bother me whatsoever for me to train you on how to coach yourself. The more people I churn out that know how to train properly for long distance endurance events, the happier I am, the more I feel like I've had an impact in the world. So you can consider it an investment in yourself. I'll tell you everything that I'm doing, why, how, and the effect it has on you and the choices that we're making all day long. And then you can end up, after about a year, you know how to coach yourself. I don't tell people that enough. I should market that more. A lot of coaches don't want to show you the secret sauce. I'm totally happy with showing you the secret sauce. I think it's cool because I want to live in a world where everybody is an awesome endurance athlete. Anyway, the last thing I'm going to mention before we wrap this up is the race that's coming up in 2 weeks is another marathon mountain bike course, but it's the excruciation exam, which is freaking nuts. It's 8 miles of mountain biking at one mountain bike park near LaGrange, Texas. How? And then you get on the gravel road right after you leave the bike park, no stopping, and ride 20 miles to another mountain bike park. And then you ride around 8 miles of that thing. And then you on a mountain bike, and then you turn around and ride 29 miles back the other way to the original mountain bike park. And then you do half of the original park again. So like 3-4 miles of that. And then you finish. It is such a crazy race, kind of like the Belgian waffle ride in San Diego. You're always questioning, like, what bike are you on? And why am I on this bike? This is not the right bike. What is going on? Is anybody on the right bike? And the frustration of the thing. And that's why they call it the excruciation exam. It is terrible, but it's also awesome. There is no bike made for 16 to 20 miles of real mountain biking mixed in periodically with almost 40 miles of pavement and gravel biking. You ride a gravel bike in this thing, you're probably going to break the bike. You ride a mountain bike on this thing, you're stuck out on the open road into a headwind on a mountain bike, and you feel so dumb. And the very first year I did it, I bonked so hard halfway through that it took me 10 years to do it again. And I knew about the race, and it had been going on for 10 years. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then suddenly Kai wanted to do it a couple years ago, and I was like, fine, I'll do it. And then I did it, and my improvement in my off-roading skills made it. So I actually enjoyed it that time. And then, yeah, I think this is year 3 now that I'm on it. Yeah, I think this will be year 3 that I've done it after a 10-year break. You can Google it, go back and listen to, maybe I made a show about it last year. Oh, I remember last year my headphones died on the return. So I had about 20 miles, 15 miles of pavement and gravel and then a mountain bike. Oh, the very first year I did it, I didn't know that there was mountain biking at the end of it. I came into and also when I hadn't done it for 10 years, I came in to the finish line, what I thought was the finish line, and there was no finish line. And I'm like, where's the finish line? And they're like, oh, you got to go do another half of a lap of the mountain bike course. I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, dude, are you kidding me? This is horrible. And when I finished, I was so glad that I was done. Anyway, that's coming up in 2 weeks. Kai won his age group in that last year, and I think he's going to try to race it pro again this year, or pro for the first time this year, and see how he does. And a really cool fact about the race, after Kai did it, somebody that's actually fast in the off-road stuff, he told me there's an actual strategy. You start off doing mountain biking, right? And then you leave the mountain bike park and you hit the open road for 20-something miles. He said that you want to be with that pack of mountain bikers that leaves the park, because then you draft off of each other as a pack when you hit the open road like roadies do. And this is one race, kind of like Leadville, where people actually have aero bars on their mountain bikes. Some people do. It's legal in this race, and last year I counted 4 people like that. And then when you're out on the open road, the people that are the real powerhouses try to drop people out of the pack, the competition out of the pack, by just hammering as hard as they can and splitting off. And the pack averages on mountain bikes, on pavement and gravel, open road, they average 20 to 22 miles an hour on fat tire bikes with off-road tread, and only 4 of them out of the 100, with aero bars. That is crazy. And then you hit the other mountain bike park, and then it happens all over again. They get bunched up trying to keep up with each other in the other mountain bike park, which is more technical. And by then the race is really broken up. I think that's where Kai lost the pro pack last year. And then when they hit the open road again, because they're more split up, everybody's fighting the headwind. So you try to find somebody to team up with. Now, last year when I did it, the past 2 years, I had aero bars on my mountain bike. And because I'm a slower mountain biker, I know I'm not going to be with that lead pack. It's not even close. Coming out of the first mountain bike park. And I'm like 5 minutes behind, I think. And they're gone way over the horizon. And I'm by myself. And we're scattered, just random people. But I've got aero bars on my mountain bike. And being a triathlete, apparently the most diabolical and worst type of cyclist on earth. All the roadies. Everybody hates triathletes, apparently, in the cycling world. They think we're the worst because we have all these aero tricks that we know. And no shame, because we know that aero works. And triathlon celebrates not doing what traditionally is done. We take tradition and just throw it out the window. When somebody goes, oh, nobody's done that, you shouldn't do that because nobody's done that before, we view that as like, oh, really? Nobody's done this before? Well, maybe it's actually faster. We should totally do it. Yeah, I'm going to put aero bars on my mountain bike. I remember a guy last year walking around trying to find the race director and then bitching to the race director. He wasn't pointing at me. He was pointing at another guy with aero bars on his mountain bike. I don't think I was viewed as competition, really. And he was like bitching about it. And I heard the race director say, it's not against the rules. I don't care. Just mind your own business. I was like, damn, dude. And that guy was obviously like a classic roadie or mountain biker and was upset that somebody had aero bars on their mountain bike. But if you look in the bigger mountain biking world, it's actually a thing that's done. Like I said, at Leadville and on gravel bikes in the bigger gravel bike races, people put aero bars on because it's faster. So I've already got in my mind this big debate going on in my head. Do I actually ride my mountain bike or do I ride my gravel bike? Because my gravel bike will be slower on the mountain bike course, but it'll be faster out on the open road. And I'm leaning kind of towards doing it. I think it depends on whether it rains or not, and I need better tires, bigger, fatter tires to deal with the slippery. And the only reason I would do it is I saw some people on gravel bikes last year, not many, but a few. And I've done it, 4 years now on a mountain bike. And try something different. Let's see. But if I do it like that, I'm probably going to ride with flat pedals so I can dismount and run with my gravel bike on the more technical mountain bike sections. And I do have a suspension stem. If I had a suspension fork, I would totally do it on my bike. So anyway, this is the thoughts that are bouncing around in my head. And again, you just never know until you try. All right, that's it for an episode. Stay tuned for next episode where we cover the PineBurden320 in detail. Everybody stay safe out there, work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out. $320 miles over 3 days is what you do for an Ultraman. Hey, no, go away, get out, hey, get out, no, get.